I think we're alive. Welcome, everyone, to the closing table, where we talk about everything that it takes to get to the closing table. Today, very special guest we have on here, Stephen Morales, good friend of ours, and fellow real estate savvy investor. So, Stephen, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, Steven Morales, based out of Tampa, Florida. Man, next month will be my 10-year anniversary in this business. Been doing sales for over 10 years, but real estate specifically about 10 years. And, we do deals nationwide, and, we love the market in Florida. I do live calls every Friday on the deal desk, and, just been doing this for a while. And people know me as I guess they call me the master closer. I make live calls on the phone, and people get to see me overcome objections, get yelled at, close contracts. I know we did a 2-hour live stream on your leads last week, and we got two
Yeah,
contracts in 2 hours, which was awesome. But yeah, just really good at helping people, problem solving, and creating win-win situations.
that's awesome, man. So, how did you get into the business?
How did I get into the business? So back in 2015, at one point I was working 4 jobs. All right. So I was
Damn.
working as a bagger during the week in the mornings. In the afternoons, evenings, I'd work as a dishwasher. On Saturdays during the day, I'd work at a gas station. Then Saturdays in the evening at night, I work as a bar back. And I'm like, man, this can't be what life is all about. And I came across this real estate. I didn't know anything about real estate. I mean, I thought I needed like a real estate license, become a successful, real estate agent, all that stuff.
Yeah,
And I'm a big car guy. One of the guys that came in the restaurant that I was a bar back in, he had the Lambo, the Mercedes, all that stuff. And I said, "Hey man, what do you do?" "Oh, I do real estate investing and sales." I knew I was pretty good at sales because I used to do door to door back in the day. And then I didn't really know anything about real estate investing. I Googled it, came across real estate wholesaling. I'm like, man, this is too easy. With people that have some kind of sales or customer service background, the transition is smoother.
yeah.
But that's how I kind of got into it. I started Googling, go to networking events, worked with a few teams, helped build a few teams. I've trained well over 1,000 other companies to really master their acquisitions process. And here I am, you know.
That's awesome, man. So almost 10 years in the business, dude, and he's
Yeah.
still here.
Yeah. And, even when you're in 10 years in the business, you never want to get to a point where you think you know everything, because that's really when you stop
Hmm.
growing, learning. I would never consider myself as I know everything, as good as I am at what I do. I'm always learning. I'm always surrounding myself by other people doing great, better than I am, and just learning and giving back as much as I can. And really, the biggest thing I've noticed is this is really all problem solving. Every single lead you speak with has a problem. You have a solution. You got to look at leads as problems you have to bring a solution to instead of dollar signs. The money just follows.
Yeah.
And 10 years of problem solving and helping people. That's when I look back and reflect that. How do I get to where I am and stay consistent? And that's really it.
You make a good point, man. Yeah, kind of like student of life, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So let me ask you this. You've been doing this or almost 10 years. Why do you think this industry sees such a high turnover?
I think people are very transactional getting into it. I mean, I got into it because I wanted to be rich with cars and mansions and women and all that stuff.
Of
And
course.
really, success to me is a great relationship with God, a great marriage, a great family. You get home, your kids run to you, and I don't know. My definition of success has really changed, and that really affects how I do business too. I used to be around transactional people, and now
Yeah.
I focus on relationships. And I feel like a lot of people, when they first hear about it, they think it's the business is very simple, but it requires a lot of hard work, right? So, regardless what marketing you're doing, how good you are, some people think this is a get rich overnight. It's a get rich over 10 years kind of thing. Like, some people see more deals early on, but I don't know. I do see that a lot. And that's part of why this industry is getting regulated, which I'm a big fan of, because it's going to really eliminate a lot of the people that are either doing it with no proper education or just unethical. But I feel like, some people try it out for a month, they go to a seminar, they try it out for a couple weeks, a month, they don't get a deal, and they leave. And
Yeah, they're out.
that's not how it works, you know.
That's true,
So
man. Consistency, right? Even when you don't see a payoff in 30 days, 60 days or whatever. It's all about like, taking those strides and those steps forward, because eventually it will. Like the only way to guarantee failure is to just quit, right? Other than that, you will get to where you're going eventually.
exactly.
Yes, sir. So tell us about the first deal you did. How did you get it? How did it play out? How much did you make? I mean, how was it?
Yeah, so my very first deal, I really got a rude awakening in this business. Um, so the very first deal actually came from driving for dollars. So while I was transitioning out of these four jobs, I got back into door to door. I ended up quitting three jobs. So I did door to door. I stayed at the store, and then I transitioned out fully back into door to door before I transitioned to real estate. But when you're doing door to door, you're just knocking doors, driving around. I would come across all these vacant, distressed properties, and I started learning that there's a problem with that. You can make an offer on it. So my very first deal was a driving for dollars lead, vacant and distressed. And I didn't really know much about skip tracing and CRMs or any of that stuff. I mean, I just looked up the owner. I went to True People Search. I looked up his number. I actually also handwrote him a letter, and my brother and I were doing this. And I told him I was interested in making an offer. Call this number if he's interested in selling. He called me back, and we accepted the offer. Now, keep in mind, before this deal, my very first deal under contract, I didn't have the right education, right? So I thought I could do this all on my own.
Yeah.
And this business is very possible to do on your own, but it's going to take a very long, hard time. It took me 8 months to get that deal. Some people would quit their first week,
Yeah.
but 8 months, I stayed consistent. I stayed faithful. I really started seeing traction once I started surrounding myself with people headed in the same direction as I was. But anyways, I got the property under contracts. I was excited. I ended up assigning that contract to somebody I met at a networking group. Little did I know they've never done any flips before. So
Mm.
I signed it to a first-time flipper, and things just went south after that, and I knew I was new, but I knew there was something wrong when I think it's kind of common sense actually, the buyer that didn't close on the property yet started ripping out the floors before they closed on it. And I said, listen, there's something
Uh-oh.
wrong here. I know this doesn't seem right. You don't own the property. What are you doing? So can you imagine a homeowner visiting their investment property or whatever, and they don't see any floors? This guy called me screaming,
That's
uh,
crazy.
all this stuff. Luckily, everything worked out great. I mean, transparency is the number one key in this business as well. I think a lot of people are afraid to tell people what they're doing. Just be transparent. They don't care what you do with the property as long as they get the number you want, and they get the number they want, right? So everything worked out fine. And that was just a big learning lesson for me. After that, I really started getting I invested in education. Some people, they'll live off of YouTube University. That'll only get you so far. There's going to be a
Mhm.
point in time where you have to get better education, the right education. And I started doing that, and then I started getting more deals. But that first deal, I'll never forget it because it was really the reality check for me. It was a $7,000 deal. And now I'm doing a lot more bigger deals than that, but I'll never get that same feeling again. I'm like, man, this is a reality check. I really did this. Like, this is real. I was a skeptic. I thought this was a scam. I thought this was a get rich overnight thing, but that kind of changed everything, and everything just went up from there. So, but that was a very interesting first deal.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, I love to hear everyone's first transaction experience
Mhm.
when it comes to this wholesale game or even flipping or buy and hold stuff. Just because it's kind of like, I know at least for me, dude. up until that point, because it took me around 6 or 8 months to get my first deal too. Um, it was all like, trying to get in front of a seller, trying to have a conversation. But I'll tell you, the scariest part was when they said yes, when a seller accepts my offer. And then it's like, oh, now I don't know what to do, because for these last several months, I've just been told no, 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 screamed
Right.
at, yelled at, not my sales skills weren't to that point. And finally, when they said yes, I'll tell you, that was the scariest thing I ever heard. It was the best thing I ever heard too, but I didn't know how to shift from, okay, now I got to put this on a legal binding contract and I got to perform for this person. It was scary, So yeah, man, that's awesome though, man. So tell me about, let's flash forward 10 years. Tell me about your team now, the size of your team, the operation you're running. Are you still
Yeah. So
doing
we got,
wholesale?
what's that?
I said, are you still doing wholesale? You guys doing other strategies?
Mhm. Yeah, so it's been a journey. At one point, I kind of stopped wholesaling and started flipping houses, and I'm like, this is 10 times as hard with just about the same amount of money, And I got out of it, and then I explored other ventures. But anyways, fast forward to today, we have a team of 4, really 5, and we're doing nationwide. I have a community where I educate people to get really good at acquiring these deals off market over the phone. We're doing about 20 to 30 deals a month.
That's awesome,
Um,
dude. Congratulations.
you know, I give all the credit, not only to my relationship with God, but also like my team. There's a lot of selfish people really where I can do this by myself. I'm gonna go out there and kill it. And then, hey, I mean, you have all the right educations. It just takes a long time, but like nobody can do this by themselves if they want to stay consistent. You need to have a good team. You have to be in unity. You have to be non-transactional. You have to be, as a leader, you want to see other people win, other people build them up as leaders. And you just got to make sure that you provide the right training tools and resources they can go out and thrive and serve other people and help other people and have a good heart to really look at these leads like, all right, these are just problems, I'm going to bring the solution. But once you have the right people, the right foundation, I mean, everything just kind of clicks. I mean, everything kind of clicks together. And I mean, it's just going great. I'm really grateful and really blessed that we're in the position where we are. And I feel like we're still scratching the surface. I mean, I started doing this business virtually in 2020. I decided to do this, you know, the business by myself, virtually start my own company. And I was in a beach in Puerto Rico, March 2020. And March 2020, the pandemic is, I was on the beach.
Yeah.
So I saw the news. What is going on? The airport shut down. There's a curfew. I'm like, man, what am I going to do now? I was going to have an office. Luckily, my strength was doing this stuff over the phone. So we thrived through the pandemic because, a lot of people didn't want to meet in person. But
You
that's all kind
couldn't,
of
right?
thoughts. What's
Yeah.
that?
You couldn't, I don't think, because you had to be like an essential
No,
worker or something.
yeah, social distancing and masks and all that fun stuff. But we were doing everything over the phone, and we do it in person over the phone. Um, yeah, I mean, everything's just kind of going right now because there's just the right people around me. We're
Yeah.
all in unity. We're moving forward in the right direction, and we have good intentions and good integrity. Where we don't look at this as a transactional business. I mean, obviously, practically speaking, it's a business. There has to be transactions, but there has to be more than just the transactions. There has to be relationships and just caring about other people and giving them the best customer service possible instead of like, all right, here, let me get you under contract. Let me cancel, renegotiate the day of closing. I just got off the phone with an agent where she had a horrible experience with previous wholesalers
Mm,
because they canceled the day of closing and she was
yeah.
fed up. And I said, listen, we flip, we buy, we rent, but we also do wholesale. But I'm going to be upfront with you. This one we're looking to wholesale, but you give me, I don't need you like 30 days and to make a decision. Like we'll let you know quick. And she appreciated the transparency.
Yep.
And that's just how it's got to be. And then if you have all that intact, everything just kind of takes off.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's also, it's good to be so forthcoming and tell them like, "Hey, I can I can give it a shot and I'll know very quickly if we can move forward or not," and then
Mm,
not drag them on to the day of closing like the other guys. So, you
yep.
mentioned something earlier about some of the regulations that are probably coming down. And I do agree with you. It's probably something that should have been done a long time ago, just because the fact there's the barrier to entry in wholesale is so low. It's like anybody who just watched one YouTube video about it can literally just be a wholesaler. And it
Yep.
just brings a lot of people that are trying to come in here for the bad reasons, right? Transactional people, they just want money and that's it.
Mhm.
They're not interested in helping a seller or a buyer. They just want to get their bag and be on their way. But how how do we navigate this business when we're always having to clean up a mess of people like that? You know, it's
Yeah.
tough. I've seen you do it though. It was on the show last Friday when the
Mhm.
seller, I think she told you she went under contract with something before, and yeah, they didn't get it done, and they just lied to her and then never spoke to her again.
That's crazy.
So,
I
but
don't know how people can sleep at night playing with people's lives like that. You got to take this business seriously. This isn't really I mean, this is we don't treat this like a hobby. Some people may do this one deal a year or whatever they do, but when you're doing it as a hobby, that's where I see most people don't take it really seriously. I mean, if you're gonna do this as a hobby, you might as well get a part-time job or something else. But
yeah,
we do find ourselves cleaning up a mess we didn't create, and we have to really explain to them how we're different. And the term wholesaler, like, I don't know, like, I don't consider us wholesalers. I look at wholesaling as an exit strategy. When people ask what we do and all that, sure, we wholesale some properties, but that's not all we do. Some will flip, some will rent out. But
yeah,
we look at ourselves as a real estate acquisitions company, and that's how I explain it to homeowners. But there have been times where we do assign the property. That's an exit strategy. But the thing is, we're not afraid to tell people that. And just to give you a quick tip in your audience watching, something that's been working really well lately, like let's say you come across a lead and you kind of see that there's a chance, but it may not work. It might. We don't lock it up just to lock it up. Like, we lock up deals when we're confident when we know if we can close on it and make some money, or we can assign it, whatever. But if it's kind of on the fence, I tell people, listen, these numbers don't really make sense to us. However, they may make sense to our network of partners. If you give me 10 business days, I can push this out to my network. Doesn't cost you anything. If I can't find a buyer in 10 business days, the contract's voided. But if I can get your number in 10 business days, we'll close on it with them. And if you're okay with that, is that something you're okay with? And, they agree to that. They like it. And we've gotten a lot of deals that way. Actually, we got accepted an offer on one that we did this last week too. It was, I think it was in man, where was that? I think it was Oklahoma, because I mean that's one of the main markets that we're in. But anyways, the point is, I'm not going to pretend to like close on the property that I'm not confident with. Like, if
yeah.
if I feel like there's something there that might work for somebody, I'm just going to tell the homeowner there's something here that might work for somebody, but it's not going to be me. But I have those connections. I have the team, the tools, the resources to reach out to those people. I just need 10 business days and doesn't cost you anything. What do they have to lose? Because some people, they get tied up in these 30-day contracts, and the wholesaler can't find a buyer on day 29, or maybe they're way beyond the inspection, and then they just go ghost. And that's when you start really getting a bad reputation. This happens every day, and this is why it's getting regulated so heavily. But that's something that works. People don't have to be afraid to tell people what they're doing. You just got to focus on problem solving. That's all they really care about.
That's true, man. Yeah, I love that. It's like ethical wholesaling. It's,
Yep,
hey,
that's
it's
it.
the numbers are decent, but not decent enough for me. I'm gonna
Mhm.
shop it around to my people to see if I can help you out. That's awesome.
Yep.
How explain your sales process? 20 to 30 deals a month. I don't know too many people doing that volume, right? Explain your sales process in order to do that many contracts and take that many to the finish line.
Yeah, so the sales process, and I've been sticking to this sales process for the past almost 10 years, I guess. The first part when I'm talking to somebody, and you guys can see this live, go back to the live stream, but I always just try to set good expectations. I tell people that first I tell them who I am and why we're on the phone. Maybe it was an inbound lead, or if I'm cold calling, I kind of explain myself too. But one of the most important things is setting proper expectations, letting them know that we're an investment company. We may not be a good fit. If I'm not a good fit, I'll let you know up front so I don't waste your time. Does that make sense? And they love to hear that. And then you go through the usual like qualifying questions, tell me about the house, you get the roof, they see all the generic questions. But then when you really get into like the negotiation nitty gritty stuff is the reason they want to sell and the time frame they want to sell. And this is our opportunity just to be quiet and listen. You should always be listening more than talking. The more I listen to the person, I understand their situation and they feel heard and cared for because they are. And, I already set the expectations with people. They know that I may not be a good fit, right? But I'm not going to pretend like I'm a good fit for everybody and then be like, I never try to force a deal out of a lead that just isn't, it just doesn't make sense. And when you kind of set the expectations, hear the people out, the numbers and stuff is just, it's just very simple, really. Once we agree on a price, if we do, I assume the close. So this is a specific tactic that has helped me and students and community and other people I've trained is like, once you accept an offer, assume the close. And part of that process is we don't send out contracts unless they are on the phone with us. I can't tell you how important this is because some people, including myself when I was new, I just sent out the contract and I prayed it came back signed, and maybe they see it and they don't understand something, and it's easier for them not to call you back, and then they go ghost. Instead of having them on the phone, getting commitment, and then asking them, hey, if we can do this price, is this something you already move forward today? Once they say yes, there's absolutely no reason that they're not going to sign that contract unless they felt uncomfortable about something on the contract, but you're already there on the phone with them. So if you're on the phone with them and they're like, well, what is this inspection, or how soon, or do I have to, unpack quick? Like, I address all those objections while I'm on the phone, and my closing rate is way higher. Everybody's closing rate is going to skyrocket if you send out the contracts while they're on the phone. And it doesn't end there. Once a contract's signed, you have to let them know what the next steps are. Hey, great. The next steps is our TC is going to reach out to you. They're going to explain the next steps. They're going to be one sending the contract to the title company, scheduling the walkthrough. If you have any questions, they're the main point of contact. If you have anything up until they contact you, feel free to text or call me at this number. That way they're like, okay, this guy's not just going to leave me, in the dark here. The TC is the one that's going to hold their hand up until we close on the property. And, just setting expectations, asking the right questions, listening, getting commitment, assuming the close, letting them know the next steps. That exact process is crucial. And listen, every conversation is different, but the process remains the same. People know what to expect. They know what the negotiation is going to be like. They know it's to be a win-win. And then they already know what the next steps are after we get a signed contract. And people just feel comfortable that way, And I feel like that's just being transparent and just assuming and the close and just setting good expectations. It just all kind of clicks. And, you'll notice quickly that this 5-step process applies to every seller, and it works a lot.
So what are the next steps? Pretend I'm a seller. What are you going to prep them for after they sign, so they don't just think they signed something in? Oh, I don't know what I just signed. How do you navigate holding their hand to get it to the closing table?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the next step is I'm going to send this agreement over to our transaction coordinator. She's going to call you within 24 hours. If you don't answer the phone, she'll leave you a voicemail and a text, but she's also going to email you. Make sure you reach out to her. And she's basically going to be the one holding your hand up until we close on the property. She'll be scheduling the walkthrough. She'll be coordinating the closing with the title company, and she'll be answering all of your questions up until the closing. Does that make sense? yes or this or whatever. Great. Did you have any questions for me before I send this over to her? And they can expect, the agent always reaches out, way earlier than 24 hours. But I always say, within 24 hours, they'll reach out, introduce himself. And they know that they have a main point of contact with any questions. They know that they're going to hear from us, right? Some people, they get a signed contract. Okay, thanks. And like, what happens after that, right? And we always give the homeowner a day or two heads up in advance when we want to have a walkthrough. But just explaining those next steps are crucial because you want to pick up where you left off with them. You want to make the process as smooth as possible, and the sellers are going to be as cooperative as you are. Sometimes these sellers are going through some tough stuff, like maybe
Mhm.
evicting a tenant or maybe a divorce or whatever the case may be. Letting them know that they always have somebody to talk to with guidance and get updates from gives them a little bit more peace of mind.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many deals that just fell apart because communication, no
Mhm.
transaction coordinator. Because when I started, man, not as long as you, but back in 2020, 2021, there was no such thing as a transaction coordinator. No one ever even heard of that. There was also a lot of other things, AI and automation. See, like there wasn't all this stuff back then.
Oh,
So I think just from how probably people realized that, like, hey, there's a problem between A to B, that they were able to put somebody in between there to kind of, clear the air, to kind of
yeah.
be that mediator for questions from title, questions from buyer, questions from seller. And just having that there can hold your deal together. So it's totally worth it.
Mhm.
Probably the seller probably has more questions after they sign than before they sign.
Yeah, some do. Yeah.
Yep. So you never know what type of personality you're going to be dealing with, and like you said, situations are different. They have to be able to, have their hand held in order to get that thing closed out.
Yep.
Um, what are your top exit strategies right now going into 2026 in today's market?
Great question. So we always give homeowners three options depending on their wants and needs are, and we only present these three options based off a lot of things. How quickly do they need to sell? Is a property free and clear? What price do they want? Because it's never one size fits all. If people are just giving cash offers, you're so behind that there's going to be other people getting those deals and closing them because you just gave a cash offer. Now the cash offer is always the first thing we do because that's the easiest in and out, but sometimes the person wants a high price but they don't need all the money up front, or maybe like we offer cash and then we offer creative options such as like a sub two or seller financing, and then we also do some novations as well. We got a property that we're closing on, I think next week before Thanksgiving, and the property is fully renovated. I think the ARV in that specific area was like 130, 140. They wanted to sell at full price just to make $10,000. And I'm like, well, what if we paid you that up front and then we just took over the mortgage payments? I'm like, oh, you can do that? And it worked out great, and that deal's closing. But if I didn't ask the right questions and I didn't give the right options and with the proper tools, if I just gave a cash offer, I mean, we probably have to be like, I don't know, 50 to 60 to make that work when we got it for like 12K down
Yeah.
and it's fully renovated with a tenant. So you never know what you're going to run into. Some are complicated, some are not. But again, this is all problem solving. And then some people, they're not looking to sell for like 3 to 6 months. They want full market value or really close to it. We offer what's called a retail buyer program where I told them, hey, we have something called a retail buyer program where we partner up with you. And instead of you listing with an agent paying closing costs and fees and commissions, we list it for you using one of our local investor friendly agents, and we pay their commissions and your closing costs and fees. So you actually walk away with what's offered to you. Is that something you might be open to? It does take between 30 and 90 days, but it's typically the best way to get the highest price possible without having to deal with the headache of, agents and negotiations, all that. Because why when we speak to people, why won't they list it with an agent? That's one of the questions I ask. Sometimes it's like, hey, why not list this with an agent? I don't want to go through the commissions and this. I had a bad experience with John and Sue and whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, what if we did it this way? Right. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. But it's either cash offer, terms, or retail buyer program. If they're not open to all three, we just follow up. We do, we do understand not every lead you speak with is going to be a deal. That's just how this is. But yeah, we offer those three options. It's been working very well for us, and we'll be growing our team and entering more markets here in 2026. But it's going great.
That's awesome, man. You mentioned follow-up. So walk me through your specific follow-up process. I know it's different for everyone's situation, but how does that equate to turning that no today into a yes in 30, 60, 90 days?
Yeah, follow-up is really the secret sauce to getting a lot of contracts as well, because it's never one call close. Sometimes it is if you're really good. And then sometimes you just have to follow up. Sometimes they may not even answer the phone and you got to blow them up. Now, with AI and everything nowadays, it's making it a lot easier. But regardless, there has to be some human element to it, whether you're training the bot or maybe you're new starting out or maybe just like doing it by yourself. But typically, if I speak with somebody and they're like, oh, yeah, let me talk to my husband, whatever, or this sounds good, give me a call tomorrow morning, I'll call them next day when they told me to. If they don't answer, I'm going to leave a voicemail and text. Okay. If they don't answer at all, I'm going to call them again between 12 and 1, because that's likely, if they're working a job, that's might be their lunchtime.
Lunch hour, yeah.
I call them and I text them. I don't leave a voicemail. If they still didn't answer, I call between 5 and 6. I call and I text them. So they're going to see 3 missed calls, 1 voicemail, and 3 text messages. I do that for about 2 to 3 consecutive days. And then if they still don't answer, I start using different numbers, because at that point, they're going to know you're calling. And if their phone is active, they're going to memorize your phone number. Oh, this guy, I don't feel like talking to him. But listen, I don't feel bad about calling people too much when they wanted me to call them back. It's not like I'm cold calling them. They wanted to call back at a specific time. I did exactly as they said. And if they don't answer, I'm going to keep calling from different numbers, from the same number. And then I'll spread out the days, and when I started realizing how important that was, I'll never forget this big learning lesson. I took a big learning lesson. This deal in Tampa, this guy had a big lot, potential development opportunity, and there was a perfect comp on the other side of the street. A builder paid I knew it was $100K assignment fee. I don't remember the exact purchase price and sold price, but I knew that there's $100K spread. I'm like, this is a deal. But I'm not the type of pressure, like sales all over you, whatever. So I said, no problem. When's a better time to call you back? Oh, call me next month. I called him next month. He was already under contract with somebody else. These sellers aren't sentimentally attached to you. So what I started doing is I also cut that follow-up time in half, because some people, depending on their situation, they'll say, hey, call me in a couple weeks. To me, that says call me in 1 week. The worst thing that can happen is you call them earlier and say, hey, I told you call me next week. No problem. I was just checking to see if there's anything new. That way, I still have tabs on it and I knew it's still available. But that does happen. Some people, they get blown up a lot. Some people will fill out a lot of forms. Some people will get calls from a lot of you'll never be the only person speaking with that homeowner. And if you're the first one, you better set a really good impression and set good expectations and a good follow, because other people will call that person. So you have to build rapport and follow up and all that stuff. But I follow up aggressively. We're now implementing an AI bot that's also going to start doing a few things, and that is extremely important. Follow up is extremely important.
Yeah. I think that's one of the overlooked. Everyone assumes they get a lead and they can close it in one call, or they're going to monetize it. But I feel like the follow-up is probably more key than just, the leads that you might get today. And also knowing how to follow up with these people, because some people, maybe they're using a landline, maybe Maybe their cell phone with the new iOS update, maybe it blocks unknown numbers. After speaking them to the first time, maybe telling them, "Hey, this is my number. Please save it in your phone," and making sure they save it. That way they know who this number is that's texting and calling them in the future.
Yep.
Um, good stuff, man. So we're going into 2026. What have you seen in the market in the shift from when you first started till now? How are things different? How is marketing different?
Man, I love the days when you could just email blast your buyers and you just get offers sent back. And those days are gone. I mean, these buyers are getting blown up. The market, it's just more competition right now, but competition is great because that means there's demand. The inventory of houses is so high right now. Um, this is a great market to be in because you have options, but you gotta get really good at getting these deals at a discount. Like something I try to do is I try to kill the deal first. I'm like, how can I make this not make sense? If I
Yeah.
have a hard time, I'm like, okay, this is probably a good deal. But relationships, I'm telling you, like you don't need a million buyers. You need a few good buyers in whatever market you're in, and they're going to trust you. They've done business with you already, and you just feed them deals. But you have a lot more negotiation power because the inventory, I think last stats I read, it hasn't been like this in like 10 years, where there's like way more sellers than there are buyers, and buyers have options. It's more of a buyer's market. Now that doesn't mean just lock up deals tight. You still got to get them at a good price because your buyers also have more options as well, right? And buyers rely on you, if you guys are wholesaling, to provide off-market properties at a discount that makes sense, and also build good relationships, not just with your buyers, but with real estate agents. There's nothing like an investor-friendly agent that knows the game, and I mean, they trust you. I had an agent, we closed on a deal last week. They sent me an off-market lead. They typically don't deal with fixer-uppers. It came from Instagram, actually,
Oh, wow.
and they followed me for a while. I forgot where I met them, but I posted something about a house or a tip or something. I forgot, but they contacted me. I made an offer. It got accepted, and we assigned it to a VIP buyer in like a day, and they closed quick. And it was just like such a smooth process. And any agent that we work with, or anybody that sends me leads that turn into deals that we either buy or sign or whatever, we give them a good referral fee or a commission. Um, but building relationships with your buyers, with your agents, and getting really good at creating win-win situations, getting these deals at a good price, regardless of what the exit strategy is. I think regardless of what the market's doing, once you get really good at acquiring off-market properties at a discount, like you're good. That's an overlooked skill that a lot of people don't recognize how important it is. If I want to acquire my rental portfolio, I'm really good at acquiring deals off market at a discount where there's enough equity. So once you get really good at that, I mean, it just makes everything so much easier.
Awesome, man. So, out of those, your monthly, how many deals are you taking? Are you guys taking down, flipping, or keeping for rentals, adding to your portfolio? Is there like a formula? Like, hey, for every 10 deals we wholesale, we're keeping one. Or explain to me a little bit about your guys' acquisitions.
Yeah. So if it's local, like it has to be within an hour drive of our office for us to consider it, like flipping it. I don't like flipping unless it's like a very light rehab.
Touche.
Yeah, our buy box is really picky. Now, some deals, whether they're an hour away or another state, like if the numbers just make sense where you can literally just take it down and relist it, maybe paint it or something, those we would consider. But I don't really like doing that stuff because there's a lot more risk. Like if I can make about the same amount and just assign it and be in and out in 2 weeks, I do that all day. But I mean, we may do one of those a quarter. Like one we almost did actually it was this month. We almost closed on it, but then like now we got this offer. We're gonna make about the same, right? So it's like maybe even 5K less. But is it worth making 5K more holding on to for 3 to 6 months? Probably not. At least not for us. So we're just really picky. Um, entering 2026, we might start doing some more buy and holds. But 90% of what we're doing right now is just assignments.
Gotcha. Do you guys on the sub twos, do you guys just assign those when you contract them? You just assign them just like you would to a normal buyer?
If it's in a location that we wouldn't flip in, we will. If it's
Okay.
close to where the office is, we may just keep it. I really like Tampa, Central Florida, Orlando, surrounding areas. But if it's like in that one in Tennessee, we'll just assign that.
Gotcha. What are your thoughts on short term? Let's say I feel like this year was the
Short-term rentals?
yeah in certain markets
Um,
getting a
I
bad
mean,
name.
good. I haven't heard anything good about them.
Yeah,
I know a lot of buddies that I know that have been doing this a lot longer than I have. That they've gotten out. They've sold all of it. And I always just follow. Like if somebody's been doing this for 30 years, like I'm a baby in this business. I'm just gonna be humble and listen, see what's working. Like being humble is one of the biggest things a lot of people have struggle with. They're like, "Oh, I'm the man. I'm doing this." Like, just be humble, help other people, but listen to those that have been doing this a lot longer. Never pretend like you know everything, right? Because those guys, they'll sense that real quick too. I used to go to these meetups and like, I always make fun of this, but there's two types of buyers there. There's ones that go in like a freaking blazer tuxedo, and they talk the talk, and then you get these quiet guys in the Hawaiian shirts, and like they're just there, they're retired, whatever. They're the ones that are buying the deals. Some guys talk the talk, and then when I send them something, I don't know this they just get flaky, But I haven't really heard too many things about short term. I've been hearing a lot of great things about co-living.
like
That
pad split.
split, it's like reminds me of like early Airbnbs, what these guys are telling me. But I walked a pad split property. I met with a buyer earlier this week. We're going to start getting some inventory for him that doesn't make sense for us. But I think that is where we're going to focus on, other than just, wholesaling and stuff or flip. Like we don't really like to flip. We wholesale a lot of stuff. But I just follow what works and what other people have been doing a lot longer. I'm never sentimentally attached to a house. This is all an investment. What is my cash on cash return? How quickly can I turn it over? What does that look like? And that's what I really been hearing that's been working really well. I first heard about co-living like 3 years ago. It just kind of went over my head. I didn't care about it. Sounds like it's a lot of work, not really focused on it. But now it's like starting to pop up a lot
Yeah,
more, and I really see how you get these multifamily returns on single family,
right.
and depending on what market you're in, there's a demand. The city wants it. Tampa. One of my buddies, Tampa doesn't have that much inventory right now. The city wants it. You know, so I think there's a great opportunity there, and like you're helping with an affordable housing issue. Like I'm thinking, man, when I worked those 4 jobs, I couldn't afford. I was living with my parents, and then I got an apartment. But if I would have known about co-living, that's probably something that would help me out a lot. And it just, you're helping people and growing something as well. So I think that'd be one of the main strategies coming into next year.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, anytime you can like turn an asset from I mean, you're not getting a commercial loan on it, but you're
Mhm.
turning a 3-bedroom house into a 10-bedroom house. You just created a 10-unit building with the cash flow to prove it, and it's pretty insane how far things have come. But I've noticed too, like a lot of people, that's what they're doing. They're Airbnbs that aren't performing anymore. They're
Yeah.
just turning them into pad splits, or they're just selling them off.
Yep.
Yep. Um, Cool, man. Well, I want to end out with a few final thoughts. Where can people find you? Anyone who's watching, where can they find Steven
Um,
Morales?
Instagram official Steve Morales, and YouTube Deal Desk. I do live calls every Friday. I drop videos. I'm not really active on Facebook, but Instagram and YouTube are the best places to look at some content and keep in touch with me.
And that's coming up right after this, actually.
Yeah, in 15 minutes, I have the deal desk here. Going to be making some live calls, not on just other people's leads, but I do call lead house leads as well. And I think the quality, I mean, the proof's in the pudding there. You just got to listen to the quality of the leads you guys are providing. I mean, we are really happy with you guys. You guys have over delivered. If you guys are anybody watching looking to get in the business and you need quality leads, like reach out to Lead House. A lot of our deals we close are from Lead House. So
Thank you, bro.
awesome.
Appreciate that. And
You're welcome.
everyone, I put the link in our Instagram on our story. So if you want to hop on for the deal desk, Steven will be live calling leads from his community as well as leads from his campaign with us. So it's a great tool to have for sales knowledge in real estate. So, Steven, where do you think the market's going this year before we close this pod out?
I think November, as you guys mentioned as well, like November, you're going to get people, the motivated people want to close before, I mean, some want to close before Thanksgiving, but a lot of them want to close before Christmas. December is slower. You got, Christmas week, the kids are on break. You got New Year's coming up and all that stuff. But I think there's a small window of opportunity to close out the year strong in November and December. And listen, how you perform now is going to determine how quarter one performs. Some people slow down. Oh, there's no deals. They take a seat back while we step on the gas. Step your foot on the gas. Don't change anything. Set up a successful quarter one with what you do right now. I think we're in a great real estate market, whether you're flipping or signing. Interest rates are a little bit low. Things are moving around a little bit. But keep your foot on the gas and keep focusing on problem solving, and you'll see before no time how much success you have. So
Yeah, that's good to leave off on. Yeah, man, I agree with you. Set the tone for 2026 for the new year and don't let off the gas on marketing, because the people who are desperate and have to sell are going to sell, during these times, during the holidays where they should be with their family. If they're thinking about selling, then they're a real quality lead, and you should be able to lock that up. But yeah, man, I do appreciate you coming on today. I think that's it for today, and we will catch you on the deal desk in about 15 minutes.
all right, thanks guys.
Awesome, buddy. All right, Steven, thank you, man.
You're welcome.